I swear these things just seem to multiply in the box all by themselves. Howdy everybody, Steve here, KM9G. Let's solve this USB cable problem forever. We've got radios that need USB cables, we've got Raspberry Pis that need USB cables, we've got printers in our ham shacks, I'm sure, and all kinds of other things, like monitors now take USB cables, and hard drives take USB cables, and everything is USB. And every USB cable, it's like its own unique little snowflake. It might have the right ends on it, but I need more than the right ends. I need like the right abilities inside the cable. Sometimes you get cables that are power only. Sometimes you get cables that are power and data. Sometimes you get cables that are power and data, but not enough data. It's crazy. So I got a little tool to help figure out whether your cable is what you think it is. Let's go take a look. Before we get into the USB cable tester device here, I got this from a friend of mine. The suggestion came from my buddy Chuck KK6USY, and the box doesn't really tell you anything at all about it. Let's see, it says PD 45 watt plus QC 45 watt mini USB-C car charger. And you have to look all the way down here at the fine print in order to figure out what it is. But I mean, it doesn't show you how awesome this is. And to give you an idea, I mean, like, that's my finger. That's how big the box is. So let's rip into this thing and show you why I think this is important enough to share, even though it's not what this channel is about. But I think you guys will like this enough to appreciate it. It's very, very small. And for reference, this is what a normal size USB car charger looks like. Like, this thing is tiny. And the point of this, I'll get you a video in a second. The point of this is that it goes into your car's auxiliary plug and it sits flush. And it looks like it was actually meant to be there. And then you have your regular USB charging cable options. And you have your USB-C cable charging options for all of your, it's plugged into my desk USB-C powered hub, which is why it's lighting up. And you have all of your different abilities to charge those two different things. And this thing puts out 45 watts, so you might actually be able to run your laptop off of it for a little bit, or at least charge your laptop battery while you're doing the thing. On the side of it, we've got 5 volts, 3 amps, so it'll actually run like a Raspberry Pi 4, 9 volts, 3 amps, 12 volts, 3 amps, ooh, it'll run a QRP radio, 15 volts, 3 amps, and 20 volts at 2.25 amps. So there's actually quite a range of power that is coming out of this thing that will help you out. Awesome. So this is the old car charger that I have, and you can see the size difference between the two. And what you wind up with is this little thing sticking out here all the time. Let's get rid of that one, and let's put this one here in. That's pretty slick. If you want to get it back out, there is a little pop-up lever thing here, so you can pull it back out. It's not like it's in there forever and it's gone and you got to keep buying a new one every time you buy a new car. It's just in there and looks like it belongs. Like it was meant to be. Awesome. So there's a link in the description down below for this thing. I just had to share it with you guys. It is absolutely fantastic. On to the more important parts of the show, the USB cable tester. And this, they should have called somebody. It is Treedix, the Treedix USB cable tester device. And what happened was we were on a Ham Nuggets live stream doing some Raspberry Pi type work, and we ran into a problem where we had a USB cable that didn't transfer data, it only transferred power, and that actually threw us for a loop for a minute. So this thing here has all of the different kinds of connectors. It has the super speed USB-B connection, USB 3.0 USB-B connection, and then it has USB-C, and then it has the mini USB super speed connection where it has the mini USB port next to it, probably getting that backwards, and the data connection port on the side. This is actually the same size as the regular one, it's double wide, so you can actually plug either one in, and if you plug the full size one in, it gets full speed out of it. On the bottom we have micro and mini, or mini and micro, because they're both small compared to maxi, I guess. And then this is a lightning connector, And then over here, USB-C, USB-A, and USB-A, and there's two different USB-A ports. So of course, we're going to try it all out. Everything on here is silk screened in. Do not connect to a device, and that is because it is providing power on all of these different ports to see if the signal comes through. It's a cable tester. It is not like a phone charger or, don't pass data through it because it will fry your device. Only do your testing type stuff. And it will take positive or minus voltage in, and you have a V in switch, or a CR2302 switch, and it will run off of this battery. So I have left it in the off position. I played with it for a couple of seconds just to get a head start, but I want to do a full thing. This is a regular USB-A to B cable, so like a printer cable, and I'm going to plug it in, and we're going to see that it transmits ground, D+, D-, and V-bus, and that is actually all I expect is the original USB 1.1 4 type of connections, and then it is telling me that the shield is connected. And if you saw, when I plugged it in, it immediately told me, as I was trying to get stuff connected, like it's pretty fast on the testing, that the shield is connected, and then all the data connections came through. So that's pretty slick. I'm not going to test all the cables, but I am going to stop and show you some cables of note along the way. This cable here, for example, is the kind of cable that comes with your Arduino Uno boards, and this is actually perfect for Arduino boards. So this is a keeper. And then I didn't expect this cable to be any more than a power cable, but this is what it's showing you. It is showing you proof that it is connected to ground and to V-bus. So this is a charging cable only. And this is where I was talking about this super speed port being two different size ports all rolled into one. If you didn't know that, I'll show you one of those cables in a second. That's what this will do. And so again, it is plugged into ground and V-bus only. So this cable, if it weren't for the fact that it has this old-fashioned mini USB on it, would be a keeper so that you can charge in like airports and stuff and not be worried about data loss. But I don't have anything that is mini USB powered except for a Raspberry Pi. And I'm not going to be plugging a Raspberry Pi in at an airport. And here is the cable I promised that had the mini USB port and the extended super speed data connection type port. You can see how much wider that is. And then it has a USB 3 connector on the other side. So let's plug this into the dedicated USB 3 port. And then we'll plug the other side of the cable into the super speed USB port. Look at that thing light up like crazy. I like it. So we've got ground TX2 plus, TX2 minus. We've got D plus and D minus. We've got V-bus, RX1 minus, RX minus, ground, and of course the shield is connected. So it is doing the thing that it's supposed to do in terms of my expectations. This is a high-speed data transfer cable from the USB 3 days. And so this is usually what you'd find on like an external hard disk. This one is a good cable. All right, this one here is a little bit interesting. It is a USB-A on one side and USB-C on the other side. And on pin row B, it doesn't have the data connected. And on pin row A, it does have the data connected. So I'm trying to figure out how they know that. So I'm going to put this cable here aside, and we're going to learn a little bit more about it as we go. This cable here is showing up to be a fantastic cable. It is USB-A on one side, and it is, oh, I guess that's an A in there. Okay, so it is USB type 3 on one side, and it is USB type B 3 on the other side, and everything is lit up here except for V-bus, CC2, and SBU2, I guess that's S-bus 2, but all the other lights are lit up, and that's actually what I would expect to find on this cable. So this is actually a really good cable. There you go, that's a keeper. Here we go, fancy cable time. This is USB 3 super speed on one side and USB-C on the other side, and this is comparable to this cable that we looked at earlier that I wanted to put aside for future questioning. And it also has this nice, what do you want to call it, nice fabric outer covering to it. So, you might spend extra money on this at the gas station. Okay, so this is the same thing where we have stuff that is lit up on one side but not on the other side. So I'm going to say that that makes this cable here the one that's doing its thing properly. And then this here with the braided outer jacket is also a pretty nice cable. This cable here tested out nice. It is, what do they call that? They call that F. Micro B and regular A, but it also has one of these ferrites on it. And this may or may not actually be enough. I have a video where I put on as many ferrites as it took to quiet the noise down, and it took more than one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wow. So if you see these with ferrites, it doesn't necessarily mean they're great. This one does pass all of the data signals like it's supposed to, but you know, that's whatever. So like use this because it's got a good length to it. And then here's an example of a power only micro B cable. So ground and V bus, that's it. You're gonna charge your phone and no data transfer. And again, if I had a phone that had micro B on it still, that might be important. Here we have an interesting little thing. This is USB-A on one side and USB-C on the other side there. And where this comes in, I'm gonna plug it into the best port I have available on this side and the best port I have available on this side. And look at that. It does not light up everything. It only lights up ground, V-bus, and ground on both sides. So this is a power only cable, and because it's USB-C on one end, that makes it a useful cable for like, let's take this to the airport and plug it in so we can charge. So we are one ahead on this. And what I would suggest you do with something like this is actually a tip that I picked up in my networking days. I would always identify my crossover cables this way. So you just put a zip tie on it, and then you can cut the end off of it here. And then when you go to plug it in, there'll be something there to let you know that, hey, this is the right thing for this circumstance. And you can decide whether you want to mark every single one of your data cables with this or every single one of your power only cables with this, but only mark one of the type. That way you can tell them apart. That's the whole goal of this, is to tell them apart. And then zip ties come in a variety of bright and shiny colors. So if you didn't want black that would blend in easy, you wanted something like, you know, bright yellow, like this is the one I want for power. And then stick this in your luggage so that you have it in your carry-on bag when you are ready to get onto the airport. This is interesting. I just noticed this. This is a type A on one side connector and a USB-C connector on the other side. And when you plug it in, you get D- and D+. But then these cables here are universal. They go in both ways, but they don't. Look at that. You lose D- and D+ on this side. On this side here, you always have them, I believe. Let's take a look. So we're looking for these lights here to stay on. Nope. So they just swap sides. This one here is a good cable to have. It is super speed USB micro on one side and USB-C on the other side. Let's see if we can test that out. And then I don't know if this tester works in that fashion, because they're both on the same side of the board. Let's see if we can do it underneath. Is it big enough? Oh, it's big enough. Yes, okay, there we go. Okay, so high-speed USB-C to super speed micro. This is a good cable to have. And mostly because I have a lot of external hard disks that use this. So now I've got a fancy flashy connector for it. And then here is a neat way to test out adapters. I have this adapter which is micro to C, and I have this cable which is A to micro. So what I want to do is I want to plug this into the type A port and then plug it into the micro port. And that tells me ground, V-bus, D+, and D-. And then I can now test this adapter here to see if this is a power only throughputter. Nope, you can see it's got D+ and D- going through to the USB-C connector. Perfect. So now I know that this cable is good for data, and I know that this adapter is good for data. And then this here is the only lightning thing I have in my entire inventory, and I don't think I've ever taken it out of the bag. But that is micro, so we'll use that same cable that we know works to lightning. Plug that in there, we'll plug this into the lightning port. And it is power only on the adapter. On one side and data on the other. Nice. Ah, okay, I see it. All right, so this adapter is going to plug in there like that, and it is data on pin row A and data on pin row B. So this is a good adapter as well. I'm going to put both of these adapters in this bag so that they are much easier to grab because of their much larger surface area. That is testing out cables, and we have some answers. I don't know what answers we have, but we have answers. We have more answers than we had before. We know that all of our cables are data cables or not data cables. Let's take a look at the user manual here. USB cable tester pinouts in English, battery usage instruction, lightning pinout. This is actually a pretty good little pocket reference here. So this is that whole A line and B line on data, and it's interesting that there isn't a cable that does A and B data at the exact same time. And maybe there's a reason for that I'm just not aware of. So there is the pinouts for the micro USB. Your external power is written kind of funky. It says, I guess that means 3 volts, greater than 3 volts, less than 12 volts. We'll see if there's something better about that in the instructions. And then we're out of instructions because that turned to German real fast. Overall, I am pretty happy with it. It did the job that it needed to do. The price was right, and now I have this thing here for future usage. The only thing that I would like to see added would be for the voltage in. Well, it's got a JST type plug there, but again, it says 3 volts greater than, 12 volts less than. So somewhere in the range of 3.1 to 11.9 volts is fine. Test all the current types of USB cables, all in one little thing. Awesome. Well, there you have it, the USB cable tester and a bonus car USB power supply charging device for your cell phone. There will be links in the description down below where you can get some more information on these devices, and hopefully they solve a problem for you. Now, the problem I have is I want to throw away all those cables, but I really don't want to throw away all those cables. I'm going to go cry on this for a little while. In the meantime, there's a video right over here that you might enjoy next. Thanks for being awesome. I'll see you over there.